Hey Eric, what's up? Yeah, I could eat. Where are you guys going? Spaghetti factory. I'm sorry, I just can't. Man, I feel like something sweet. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no way. I haven't had Skittles in years. Oh my. Okay. Oh my God. Hey Brian,
What's your blood sugar?
what's up?
Could be dropping.
Yeah, I'm just here by
Could be going
myself,
up.
just
You
trying
need
to,
to get exercise.
get a little bit of time
Don't
for
exercise too much.
work, I guess.
Check
I
your
think,
goal range during
work
exercise.
it's just
When
been a
you
little
get
bit
low,
crazy
do not
lately.
eat hot
It's just
dogs.
kind of
See
hard to
glucose
get,
test.
some time
You
to,
know,
to,
you
my,
need to test
to think
more
about
frequently.
my
Yep.
blood
Look at
sugar.
your trend
Can you
more.
just give me a second?
Yes.
Hold on. Hey, enough. All right, that's it. I'm going on vacation.
Awesome. Where are we going?
No, not you. You stay here. I'm going. See ya, bud.
Hi everyone, my name is Bill Polonsky and we're here to talk about the diabetes vacation. But boy, after seeing what Steve and Jeremy just did, that was so perfect. I'm not even sure I have a lot to add. But let's go over a few things to understand what this is all about, how it can be a problem, how it could be useful, and see if this might fit for any of you. So to set the stage, when we think about what's it like for people living every day with an issue like diabetes, we know that, first of all, for the person who doesn't have diabetes, what might be going through their head, and I apologize for using the word diabetic, but it's not my idea. This is actually from a lovely cartoonist who designed this. You can see what's going on through a non-diabetic's head might be something very simple, like, gee, I thought someone said it might be raining today. But if we compare that to someone who's living every day with diabetes, it looks a little different in terms of all the stuff you have to think about, to worry about, to do, etc. And of course, we understand that for so many people, that can be pretty overwhelming. And this really gets to the nub of the issue, which is what we call the 24/7 problem. That we know the day you're diagnosed with diabetes, there's a lot of stuff and suggestions about things you need to do. There's a degree of vigilance that needs to go into this, dealing with this lifelong chronic condition. And we know you didn't volunteer to have diabetes. We know there's actually no pay, and getting time off can be really very problematic. And the issue underlying the problematic nature here is that, let's be serious. I mean, what do you do when taking care of your diabetes, paying attention to how you're eating, how physically active you are you taking your medications, are you going to your doctor and appointments on a regular basis, and you're trying to stay aware and vigilant about this on a day after day. Let's face it, like what we're seeing here with Charlie Chaplin, day after day, this gets old, gets really old. Now that isn't true for everybody, I understand, but it's a very, very common issue. And we can see and understand how this can be a problem and how it leads to this conflict that so many people feel on a regular basis. On the one hand, thinking, well, yeah, I really need to keep a close watch on my diabetes all the time. It can feel like there's just someone on your shoulder reminding you, you better stay and keep attention to this disease. On the other hand, on your other shoulder, there's this sense of, chill out, you need a break from this. And we know that's true. So how do you deal with this conflict? Well, actually, it turns out there's lots of different ways in which people deal with this struggle. For some folks, it's just trying something new, like starting a CGM for the first time, or starting on an insulin pump, or actually even trying a new medication, or finding a new place to dine out that provides you with more healthy choices, or new activity. All of those can give you kind of the lift to say, all right, well, I'm okay with this, and I'm okay with continuing. For some people, it's laughing with a friend. For other folks, it's just getting perspective on, why am I even bothering doing all this? Many people have told me how they've figured out a way to streamline their diabetes. So a lot of the effort that they have to engage with every day becomes more automated, so it doesn't have to take a big chunk out of what they're thinking every day. But there's another approach that can often be a solution for many folks. And that's this idea of taking a diabetes vacation. But I want to be careful about what we're talking about here, because when we bring up this idea of the value of taking a diabetes vacation, many people think this sounds terrible. Here's some of the comments we've seen online about this. One person said, if you look at the top left of the screen here, vacation, that's too dangerous. I took off my continuous glucose monitor for a couple of weeks, and that ended up with a paramedic visit. Look at the bottom on the right, on the left side. Someone said, well, I took a short break. Yeah, that turned into another short break, and that turned into, a series of short breaks and then longer breaks, and that eventually turned into complete and utter disregard, and then I paid the price. As you look on the top right, someone said, vacation, diabetes vacation, one where you're able to stop thinking, counting, dosing, planning, preparing? I don't think so. Someone else just said, that's very foolish and ridiculous. But here's the dirty little secret. Don't tell anyone, but lots and lots of people with diabetes, both type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, actually do this, and sometimes do it kind of regularly. Now, often they do it unconsciously. They're not even aware they're taking diabetes vacations. And I understand that for many of you, it sounds like a terrible idea, but perhaps it doesn't have to be such a bad idea. So let's try to make a distinction here, because in truth, when you think about this concept of what are we even talking about, what is a diabetes vacation, there's really two very different types of diabetes vacations. One type of vacation is, a safe vacation. It's a vacation where you can get a little time off from your diabetes, but it doesn't have to harm you. You can actually enjoy the time off. You can get a break that helps you to then, it feels restorative so that you can then get back on and manage your diabetes effectively over time. But to be fair, there's another very important kind of diabetes vacation. And this is a very, very unsafe diabetes vacation. And those are the things that we worry about the most, where people are taking a break from their diabetes that actually can lead to considerable harm, especially harm in terms of how they're dealing with their glucose levels over the course of time. Now, when we talk about unsafe vacations, again, it means that a vacation that leads to bad outcomes, often leads to people feeling guilty, leads to them feeling very emotionally uncomfortable, and more. When we think about unsafe vacations, it means people who have decided, and there's many different kinds I should mention, people have decided, and I've known lots of people like this, who've decided, diabetes vacation, yeah, I've been doing that for decades. They completely ignore their diabetes. For other people, it means, I know, I'll just skip glucose monitoring forever. These are very unsafe choices. Other people have told me their idea about diabetes vacation is, I just eat several pints of Ben & Jerry's every night. Probably not a really good idea if you want to be in a safe place with your diabetes and live a long and healthy life. For other people, it's, I just skip my doctor's appointment over the course of years. Others have said, I just kind of wing it with my diabetes. I don't check my glucoses very often, but I'll, just do the best I can. We'll see how that works out. And finally, the last example is what we call the Seesaw Syndrome. People who manage to do their very best to stay very, very vigilant and follow their healthcare providers' recommendations to a T. But it gets exhausting. And so then one day they wake up and they say, the hell with it. And then they seesaw into saying, I'm going to ignore my diabetes completely. I'm going to do nothing. Again, a very severe and unsafe diabetes vacation. But they don't enjoy that very much either. They just feel kind of guilty and nervous. What am I doing to myself? So then eventually they swing back into thinking, I have to take perfect care of my diabetes. But they can't tolerate for that long. So they swing back and forth. Both ways, it just is awful. So these are examples of what it means when you're taking a diabetes vacation that's not such a great idea and is unsafe. But I'd ask you to consider, for many of you it might be useful, and many of you have already discovered, that there is such a thing as a safe diabetes vacations. In general, what this means is that these are mini vacations. Doesn't mean taking years off from your diabetes. Doesn't mean ignoring everything. It doesn't mean that you're quitting your diabetes care or never worrying about highs and lows or canceling all your doctor's appointments or throwing out your CGM or your glucose meter. But what it does mean is, like any good vacation, it should be guilt-free. It should be enjoyable. It should be restorative. So when that vacation is over, you can feel relatively comfortable getting back to the job. It enables you to return back to the job of diabetes with renewed energy and a sense of purpose and feeling kind of okay about it. Now, I want to give you some examples of the many people who we've heard about and met who have figured this out on their own. Because while we can come up with recommendations, it's the creativity of people all over this country and world have figured out a way to find this very, very careful balance of taking a mini vacation that doesn't have to harm them, but that can give them a little break. So here's some examples. We'll start on the top left. Said a young gal who I met long ago who said, on Sundays, my mom pokes my finger for me and then suggests what I need to do. And for this brief period on Sunday, I don't have to worry about it. Someone else said, if you look at the bottom side on the left, every few months, my spouse and I go out for a ferocious pig out. I dose up ahead of time as best as I can, but for that one evening, I don't think about diabetes. And again, for this woman, that was what she needed as a restorative so that she could put in the energy to manage her diabetes for all the rest of the time. If you look at the top right, one fellow said, my mini vacation is an extra sized slice of pizza, and then throw a bunch of insulin at it and cross my fingers. I also try to celebrate success, and I take a moment to reflect on all of my hard work. Someone else said on the bottom right there, my mini vacation is a chocolate croissant after every endo visit. Here's some more examples, by the way. Again, going to the top left, someone said, I think if you're not running high all the time, it's okay to let things slide a little. I wouldn't stop testing completely or taking insulin, of course, but otherwise, yes, we need a break sometimes. Diet-wise, too, let yourself eat a little more or whatever here and there. I've been relaxing a bit on things, and I feel better. On the bottom, someone said, I love my pump, but I get so sick of being attached sometimes, so every month or so I just disconnect for a few days. And on the top right, never take a day, but I do take moments, birthdays, holidays, special occasions. There are more normal days than special days, but I never miss out because of my diabetes. So these are just some important examples of how people have figured out how to get a break. The goal is not to have perfect blood sugars, but it's to find that safe, what my colleague Dr. Guzman likes to call a good enough spot. So they're, again, not ignoring diabetes, but not having to be so vigilant that it exhausts them and makes them feel terrible. So when you think about this idea of taking a diabetes vacation, it's important to give yourself and to be creative about how to do that. Now, let me give you a couple other ideas here about what people have suggested to me that can really make a difference. Someone else said, if you look at the top left, I plan some foods that I don't eat normally. And on those days, I try to keep the portions small. This way, I get the taste and texture, but not so much with the carbs and calories. And if you look at that quote, I want you to notice the word plan. Oftentimes, a safe diabetes vacation, just like a real vacation, is when you plan for it ahead of time. You get prepared for where am I going to stay? How are we going to get there? What are we going to do during our time? It's the planning that can make this safe. On the bottom left, someone else had another idea. When I go on trips with my friends, I focus on the things I enjoy, and I don't make diabetes my first priority. I still manage it, but I allow myself to a bit more relaxed with checking and eating. And then finally, on the top right, someone said, I sometimes need to take a few days break from my CGM. It helps me appreciate it again when I put it back on. And again, that's really important. Here's a break from not having to think about something too much. And when this fellow put his CGM back on, he went, oh yeah, that's why it's so useful. So as we put it all together, the point is this. Everyone deserves a little time off from their diabetes. Everyone deserves a vacation. Now, many of you may be thinking, oh, I don't need to do that. That would be a terrible idea. And that's fine. That's because you have found some other way to make peace with the job of diabetes, some of the other things that we mentioned before. But for many of you, taking a little break, a little mini break, is not such a bad idea, and it doesn't have to be. So here's some suggestions about how you can do that effectively. Number one, as we already said, plan ahead so that your long-term blood glucose results don't have to suffer. Number two, just make one change. You don't have to take a break from everything. It might be something about what you're choosing to eat at the next meal out you're having. It might have to do something with how you're monitoring your glucose. Number three, be reasonable. Remember, a mini break should be mini. It should be brief. You don't want to just blow off your diabetes completely. It's finding that, if you will, no pun intended, sweet spot between not ignoring diabetes, but not feeling overwhelmed by it all the time either. And number four, if it makes sense to you, don't do your diabetes vacation alone. You know, when you involve a friend, a family member, a loved one, your break can be more fun and more successful. And by making it someone that involves someone else in your life, you're making sure that they're with you about this. You're not going to be hearing any shaming and blaming from them. And finally, the last point is, ideally, you want to work with your healthcare provider on this. You want to develop a plan so you can have that mini break or mini breaks over the course of time that can also keep you safe. And again, there's flavors of diabetes vacations. For many people, it's going to be having a chance to just be able to hang out and be alone and not be bothered. For many of you, it means going out with your loved ones, taking a vacation in a way that you can all do together. But however you want to do it, think about what might be easiest and most successful for you. Now, to bring this to life, it would be so nice if I could, just find someone with diabetes who was floating around here so we could get their sense of whether this would be like. And oh, look, there's
Bill.
Dr. Edelman. Maybe I will make use of him. Hi, Steve.
How are you, man?
It's great to see you.
We're both vaccinated.
So what do you think of this whole diabetes vacation idea?
You know, Bill, I was listening to you, and what struck me is that everyone's different. And for example, you said to people, take off your pump for a couple of days. I know you meant to say, and replace it with long-acting insulin. I know you meant to say that. But for me personally, and remember, it's just me. If I do not know what my blood sugars are doing, I cannot enjoy my vacation. Now, some people, I've had patients like you, those numbers drive them nuts. Totally agree with you. So I think you have to sort of look inside, what drives you crazy the most? And when you remove that, are you more stressed because you're not doing what you normally do, or are you more relaxed? And if it's the latter, then definitely diabetes vacation is it. And not everyone has access to a continuous glucose monitor. And I used to prick my finger 10, 12 times a day. And I can just go back in time and say, God, that'd be great just to do like 2 at the most important times, And one last thing before I let you say anything, good therapist lets their patient talk. As you know, we did the video recently on how to eat 3 donuts and stay in range.
Great video.
And, so I think learning how to handle foods that aren't really the best for you, foods you don't eat very often, the timing of the insulin, as one of your patients said, using Afrezza, for example, for fast-acting carbs. If you can keep your blood sugars in range and go off your diet, that's like the best of both worlds. But I did learn that eating 3 donuts is a full-time job if you want to stay in range. And plus 3 donuts is a lot of food in 15 minutes. But the bottom line is you have to find out what are the things you do that can keep you comfortable and calm on vacation.
So let me ask you a couple of things.
Yeah.
So as Dr. Edelman, I think you said one important thing, and I think that makes you most concerned about this, is how do you help people have a break, a mini break, that's safe? The concern is, and I think what you heard in some of those quotes, is people taking breaks that might not be too safe for them. And it makes you queasy, makes me nervous as well. And that's why I appreciate what you said. But I want to ask you, not as Dr. Edelman, but as Steve, how do how do you take a little mini break for yourself so that diabetes doesn't drive you crazy? I mean, you've only been dealing with this for 50 plus years. So when you think about for yourself, what do you do how do you keep your sanity? You'll take a little time off for yourself. What's a mini break for Dr. Edelman?
Well, could I answer something else first? 'Cause I'm not trying to avoid the question, but I thought you were going to ask me, what do I tell my patients? So let me just jump in there.
Okay.
If you have type 2 diabetes and you're on pills, you can't adjust them on a day-to-day basis. Just don't test your blood sugar, because nothing bad's going to happen. And your blood sugar you may not notice it going up or down during eating foods on vacation, but that's not going to kill you, and temporary. If you're a type 1 and you're going to the beach a lot, you convert over to the long-acting injections, and then you don't have to wear your pump. I know Jeremy Pettis does that all the time when he goes to Hawaii with his family. It's just too much of a hassle wearing a pump in the water. What does Steve Edelman do? I'll tell you what. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the kind of person that I enjoy my vacation more if I know I'm not getting super high or having unexpected lows, because that'll wreck my vacation. Shaky, weak, sweaty, drink everything in sight, then you rebound up. So for me,
and by the way, you'll notice he's dressed for his diabetes vacation, which is why this was important.
You kidding? Today is the day. I mean, I miss Hawaii like crazy. I got all these airline miles. I'm going straight there the minute I get a chance. I mean, for me, I don't, I've had diabetes so long. I'm so used to wearing my CGM. I look at it a lot, and being on vacation, that doesn't bother me, because I want to know that if my trend arrow's up, give myself a little insulin, drink a Mai Tai or a pina colada if I know I'm getting low, bolus on purpose so you can do that. So, I mean, as I heard you speak, which I really appreciate you putting some time into this presentation, that everybody's different. And I've had patients myself who just need a diabetes vacation so badly. And as long as they don't kill themselves, looks bad on my record, then, hey, take a break, loosen up a little bit, and don't feel guilty about it. Because I think so everyone's different. I prepare, and I don't mind wearing a pump on vacation. I'm not a big water person.
But just to be clear, we're not talking about real vacations. I just mean in your daily life, like over the past week, for example, times when you do an awesome job of managing your diabetes, but you don't think about it all the time. And I think part of the reason this is hard to have this conversation with you right now is because you're good at it and used to doing what you're doing. Yeah. But how you manage to not have to think about all the diabetes all the time. Now, one is you have the technology to support you, so you don't have to think about diabetes all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, what else? Do you think of anything else about what you have figured out that either not necessarily all the time, but that really helps you to feel, gives you a little bit of a mini break during normal life?
Yeah, well, you're right. I have one of these hybrid closed loop systems, and my life has never been this easy with diabetes. So I feel part of my role at TCOID is letting people know about this technology. But let me just say that I'm going to go back a little bit. Before I had that technology, even though I had a pump and a CGM, they didn't communicate with each other. It was a constant battle, constant fluctuations. My time in range wasn't very good. And what I did in those days was, as I said a little bit earlier, I would pick times throughout the day that I would look at my CGM, and I'd say to myself, listen, even if you're out of range more, like 70% or better, if I get down to like 60, 50, 40, it's not going to make any long-term damage. And I just didn't look at it very often. And I kind of ate more of the foods I liked, and I kind of guesstimated the dose. It's a wild-ass guess. And I would just say that I'm less vigilant. And even my girlfriend, a lot of times she'll think I'm on my cell phone. And I say, I'm giving myself a bolus, or looking at my blood sugar.
But you've also figured out a way to do it for a while, and when a while is over. And I think, again, it's sort of automatic for you, and I think for many people listening, this idea of not driving yourself crazy and doing it safely. And again, the reason I think we're kind of having this, in many ways, struggling with this conversation.
He hangs out with me a lot, too. But let me just say one more thing.
Yeah.
Now, talk about the struggles. You know what? I think the best answer I can give you is, when when I put myself in competition with Jeremy, like time in range or who did better during eating 3 donuts, that caused me a lot of stress. And so not entering contests where you're saying, who can get the best time in range over a 2-day period or 7-day, that did kind of, stress me out. I kept looking at my clarity report. And once that contest was over, I realized I didn't need that. So I'm taking a vacation from competition.
It's a good point because, we're speaking primarily to people with type 1 diabetes. And as you've really pitched so hard for so long now, that we're moving from A1C to time and range. And one of the things that I'm sure you've said a lot is that the goal for everyone, well, the standard goal we're talking about internationally now is a goal of 70% time and range, which means at 70% time and range, we are presuming that means you're in a safe place with your diabetes as much as we can say.
Yep.
And that's not 100% time and range. It's 70% time and range. And it's that wiggle room that I think you've sort of found naturally for yourself. And we want to help people to feel comfortable with. And again, it's part of that wiggle room that allows you to keep your sanity and have these little mini breaks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And remember, every 4 percentage points means 1 hour. So if you think, if you're in range 70%, you're out of range 30%, divided by 4, that's 7 hours a day. So I think we all have to realize that we can't be perfect all the time. And I think I could really see how getting into that time and range, you saw me. I kept trying to get up to 90%, and that was way too hard. And it caused a lot of stress for me. But I think, even if you have type 2 diabetes, it's as you know, it's a completely different condition. And once again, if you're on just basal insulin, you can cut back the testing once a day. If those numbers are stable, give yourself a break. If you're on pills only, you can really give yourself a break from testing. Yeah. And if you're taking a lot of injections per day, then you're like us type 1s. And you got to find the right, I'd say the right strategy during the day. Yeah. That doesn't drive yourself crazy.
Well, that's great.
And listen, you see patients all day that have issues. And so I know you have a lot more experience. And, if you guys have any emotional issues, Bill's will give you a discount, a TCOID discount. I don't want to put light in that topic. It's a serious issue. And, but yeah, if you have some of those issues, seek help for sure.
Yeah. And again, I just want to remind you that, again, the idea was to be talking about this concept of diabetes vacations. It's not for everybody. Many of you have figured out other ways to deal with the fact that diabetes gets tiring from time to time. But as we've talked about, this can be done, and it can be done safely. We need to be creative about it. And ideally, you want to have your healthcare provider you can talk about it with, so you can figure out a way that works for you and helps you to stay safe. So thank you for watching. Thank you, Dr. Edelman. I appreciate it. And hope this is helpful. I'll talk to you later. Bye.